Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Some interesting things circulating in the media right now, and to be quite honest with you, I tend to believe there's a little bit of validity to these rumors. And the reason I say that is because Derrick James made a statement last night about Shawn Porter and Kenny Porter, where he was saying that Shawn Porter hasn't spoken to his father since the Crawford post-fight press conference. And I tend to believe that to be true, because when you see Shawn Porter now, Kenny Porter's nowhere near him, nowhere around him. He's not with him. Prior to him announcing his retirement, you would see them together at the fights. You would see them together all the time. You would always, when there's an interview, Kenny Porter was somewhere near. And what Derrick James said, which to me was evident, was that there was a power struggle where Shawn felt like, I'm my own man, I can make my own decisions. Kenny felt, well, if you can make your own decisions, you don't need me. And I don't feel you can make your own decisions. And this is where and even throughout the years, if you watch the interviews with Kenny Porter, Kenny has a little Joe Jackson in him. Kenny has a little Joe Jackson in him. The same way he'll run up on Derrick James, the same way he'll go in that video that's floating on YouTube where he goes up and slaps somebody with his hat on, his toothpick in his mouth. I can only imagine the interaction between him and his child, although Shawn was a professional boxer, that's still his son, with Kenny felt that Shawn wasn't doing what he told him to do, or that Shawn was being disrespectful, or that wasn't preparing the way he was supposed to. I can only imagine how Kenny treated Shawn. Now, I will say this. It could just be love, man. It could just be him wanting the best for his son. He said in that post-fight, Crawford post-fight conference, he talked about now he has his grandson right across the street. He has a son right across the street. He gets to see them every day. It's such a blessing. He talked about how when it came to Shawn and Shawn's money, and this is the thing, right? Kenny managed all that. Kenny ran all that. Shawn didn't really have too much of a voice, but Kenny took care of him, and that's commendable. But at the same time, there's only so much of the Joe Jackson stuff, man, that anybody can tolerate. You know what I mean? Obviously, Shawn wanted to do some things his own way, wanted to try some things. Daddy wasn't having it. And if you look at what happened at the end of that fight with Shawn and his father, you've seen some of that Joe Jackson, some of that power struggle, where he came out and just said, hey, I wasn't going to let him fight. I was going to call it off before the fight started. Shawn, I just saw some things in Shawn that Shawn wasn't training the way he was supposed to. He wasn't preparing the way I wanted him to. And so I'm not surprised at what happened. Just totally threw Shawn under the bus. And when you look at that, it's really a shame. It's actually an embarrassment to Shawn and to Kenny Porter, but more to Shawn, that the father would speak like that about him. And it's a really sad situation. So going forward now, Shawn is doing a lot of things on his own, but we have to give his father credit, because his father is the reason why Shawn is getting ready to host the USA Boxing Alumni at Northeast Ohio on April 24th in Cleveland. The father has a lot of connections, a lot of networking at different levels as far as in boxing organizations, boxing franchises, boxing platforms throughout the years. He forged those relationships throughout the years by attitude, by interacting with people, by being selfless, by helping people. And as a result, his son is able to benefit. But when it comes, see, this is the thing, we got a little peek behind the tent flaps when you saw that interaction with him and Shawn. In those training camps, there are clips out there, the way he talks to Shawn. Let me tell you something, man. You know, when you have a small child, it's a lot of love, a lot of communication, a lot of talking. There's a time to be directive, a time to be non-directive, time to have a combined approach. You always want to look for the combined approach. It creates like a collaboration, a win-win scenario for you and the other person. But if you watch Kenny, everything with him seems to be directive in nature, Joe Jackson in nature. And Shawn just, although he may feel a kind of way, he may have an opinion, he just implodes and just takes it because that's his dad. He doesn't want to be disrespectful to his father. And you can tell in that Terrence Crawford post-fight conference that when Kenny was talking, Shawn was embarrassed. But Shawn would just come and say, oh, well, yeah, he's right. I didn't do this. It's like Ike and Tina Turner. I'm sorry, I whack in the head. You know what I'm saying? It's like Shawn Porter take those verbal blows from his dad and whatever shots he took during training with the mitts or whatever, and he just comes back and, okay, I'm sorry, Dad, you're right. Even though Shawn had to realize, like, this isn't how this is supposed to go. But I'm not going to give the world what they want and see my father and I riffing. Now Shawn is out here on his own 2 feet, and the man, he already had a big, bright smile. The man looked happier than ever. He don't have to deal with the Joe Jackson BS. But I think Kenny just never let him go on and be his own man. Now, I think Kenny did raise a very intelligent, articulate son with a great attitude and great personality. He did what he was supposed to. He had the best interest for his son. But I just think at some point, got to let your child get out there and get life experiences. Let them make mistakes. And Shawn Porter, it's like with Roy Jones Jr. I'm telling y'all, man, if you disagree, leave a comment below with what I'm about to say. Shawn Porter, I think part of him was satisfied, felt a certain sense of satisfaction in losing that fight to Crawford, because part of it was kind of his way and being tired and his out of having to be from underneath his pop. That was his way of getting out from underneath his dad's iron-fisted reign. It's almost like a sense of relief. Good, I lost, it's over, I'm gonna retire. But I don't think deep down that's what Shawn wanted. I think that's his way of finally trying to get away from his dad, and as a result, here we are. But he looks much happier, but deep down, let me tell you, Shawn wants to come back and fight. People, listen to what I'm telling you. Don't be surprised if Shawn Porter comes out of retirement. He's not ready to retire. He's not ready. He wants to get away from his dad. It's the power struggle, man. And Derrick James, these guys are out there. They're on the boxing scene. They're on that boxing circuit. Derrick James isn't going to throw BS out there about Shawn and Kenny. Now, I do feel deep down Derrick James doesn't like Kenny Porter, because Kenny Porter ran up on him and went straight Joe Jackson. And it took the coach out of D.C., Barry Hunter, to come and try to break that up and say, that's not what you want to do, stop it. But Kenny was out there, man. He went straight animal on him, straight Joe Jackson. And that's just not what it's about. You can't misplace your self-government because of somebody's words. And Kenny out there messing with Derrick James. Derrick James, the man has hands. And he can get angry. You don't see it because he always had like the same expression. He always looks like he's half asleep. But obviously, you can't ruffle his feathers, and then those clothes come out, and then you have a problem. So I think Kenny Porter was one Joe Jackson statement or one Joe Jackson antic away from getting his ass beat by Derrick James. And now James is speaking out on it because obviously he doesn't respect Kenny. And that's what got him in hot water with Kenny last time, is Derrick James speaking on Kenny and Shawn. But now he's come out and made these statements about Shawn hasn't spoke to his dad since because it was a power struggle, and Kenny basically doesn't respect his son as a man. And now Shawn's broken away from it. He doesn't want to get back into that situation. But deep down, Shawn didn't want to retire. Yeah, that speaks volumes about what was going on in that house behind the scenes. So what I'm expecting now in the next couple of days is for Shawn Porter on his podcast, or for the father to resurface and address those statements, because if I caught those statements, I know the media has, and I'm surprised they haven't ran with that yet. But somebody is, and I want to hear what happens. I want to hear what they have to say. But I do believe Shawn Porter isn't he going to stay retired long. He's watching this and knows he can still come out here and train without his dad and beat these guys. It's already in the wind that you and your dad were riffing. You and your dad were on the same page. You felt like your dad wasn't letting you be a man. I mean, this guy, Shawn, was an exceptional fighter. I think he's married now. Got a nice looking son. Man has money. Beautiful personality. Shawn didn't get that commentating job with PBC and working with Showtime because he's the most articulate, because he's the brightest crayon in the box. He got it because he has the best attitude, the best personality, the brightest smile, and he knows boxing. If they wanted someone who was extremely articulate, but who knew boxing, but didn't have the best attitude, they'd take Paulie Malignaggi. But Paulie Malignaggi's attitude sucks. And that's why he is where he is. But Shawn has those other intangibles that you can't teach. It's naturally likable. Everyone likes him. So his dad did a great job. And, hopefully whatever the issues are, they can get beyond it. This man's a multi-millionaire. I think his dad kind of played himself when he started making them big-ass ties. But, I mean, that's not... who am I to judge their style? They can wear them big damn bozo ties and suits and tangerine color slacks or whatever the hell they want to wear. That's up to them, and they want to look like a fruit salad. But on a more serious note, man, I hope they sort that out. I hope we get some more fidelity or clarity on what's going on with these guys, because it's just sad to hear that, but it's definitely believable, because Kenny Porter does have some Joe Jackson in him. And it showed up in interviews that he totally disrespected or embarrassed his son. He didn't prepare like I wanted him to prepare. That's horrible to say. You don't need to say that to the world. Quit trying to embarrass him. We know that you're an alpha male, you're the dad, and we know you run that show, but stop breaking your son down in front of the whole world. That's corny. And that's why he's probably in the position he is, where his son's kind of like, I really don't want to deal with this guy. But hopefully they can get beyond that, because that's still blood, that's your pops, but a conversation, if his father's willing to shut up and listen to his son, as a son who's obviously hurt, but also as a man, and respect him as that, they can get beyond it, because still his dad, still his son. But I hate to see it as riffing, but sometimes it happens. When you look at these father and son teams, Danny Garcia and his dad, Angel, they have probably the best chemistry I've seen. Like, there ain't nothing breaking that bond, man. Those guys, they never beefing, they never riffing, they always dancing together, acting crazy together. Shane Mosley and his dad seem to have a good relationship, but Shane left his dad to go train with a bunch of other people. It never looked the same. When you look at Floyd Mayweather and his dad got into some stuff. Roger took over for a while. Dad finally figured out to get his way back in the picture. Him and his dad seemed to be doing good, but still there was some turbulence there. Then you got Shawn Porter and Kenny Porter. And there's a lot of other guys who are training with their kids. You got the Benavidez brothers and their dad. They seem to have a solid relationship. So when you see that, even Isaac Cruz, Pitbull Cruz, but there's a lot of others. But when you look at those relationships with the dad and the son, Shawn Porter and Kenny Porter seemed like they had a solid union, but it did seem like Kenny was the one who was, like I said, the iron-fisted kind of my way or the highway. You don't listen to me, then you're stupid, that kind of stuff. And that just can't work, man. A person really takes so much of that. Even me, I have 4 boys, and I can be hard on, especially the oldest one, because he's the big son, and he's about to be a teenager. And, no one's going to love him like his dad. So when he goes out there into the real world, if I'm not directive in nature when it comes to certain things, he's going to get out there, man, and he's going to get the wake-up call that it's probably going to be very discouraging. So it's best that I prepare him the best I can, equip him with the tools that he needs to be a productive young man in this world. Big thing for me, and I think it's a big thing for Kenny Porter, is attitude and communication. Those are the 2 biggest for me, verbally and written. So attitude and communication, then discipline and responsibility. Those are the 4 things I push at my children. And I think Kenny Porter, maybe not in that order, but I'm sure those are the 4 things he seemed to push at Shawn. And there are a lot of things that fall underneath those umbrellas. And I think he did a great job. But it just seems like maybe Shawn should have broke lock with his dad a long time ago, and to get his dad to respect him and see him as a man. Kind of like what Floyd Mayweather saying with his dad. Would check him, punk him, not see him as a man, can't do anything right, everything's wrong. and person gets tired of that. So that being said, more to come on them. Leave your comments below. I'm always rooting for these guys, especially father and sons, man. I really love to see that. Even if it was a daughter, I just like to see the parents with the kids being happy, healthy relationships. But these guys, obviously, some turmoil there, and more to come on their relationship. And I hope Shawn addresses it, because Shawn's a straight shooter. I just hope he doesn't pull no red table bullshit like Jada Pinkett and Will Smith, where they tell too much of their personal business, and now Shawn comes and makes his dad look super crazy. The world don't need to hear all of that. Just but touch up on it and just either say no comment or say this is what it is. But don't come down, man, and just totally make your dad look crazy, because we know he has some Joe Jackson in him, but we don't need to know too much of your business. Just clear some things up, man. That being said, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Shout out to all the veterans, and as always, I'm in the breeze.